with the musicians that do know it, because they definitely are learning from them, and it makes them. It actually makes practices awkward for the person that doesn't work, and so they know that everyone's counting on them to know their parts, or else they kind of they get kind of worked over a little bit.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. Can you tell us about your band? Like, who do you have in the setup, and what does that look like?
Yeah, so we have usually drums, bass, keyboard player, one or two electric guitarists, and then I play acoustic guitar and have one or two vocalists with me. We rotate vocalists through. We have about, I don't know, 5 or 6 ladies and a couple guys that I'll rotate through. We have some of the musicians are pretty consistent, and that has definitely made a big impact on just the quality of the music, because they're used to playing with one another, and they're just really talented. And then we kind of filter through a few others that are available part-time and stuff like that. But for the most part, we have some great musicians that, just take good ownership in actually playing well, evaluating how we did. They'll take the CDs home of our Sunday service and listen to them to kind of evaluate how it sounded, how we did. So yeah, hopefully people aren't hating me right now for.
No, they're probably wanting to learn your secret sauce. That's all, which is quite uncommon. But I mean, that's good for you. I mean, to have a team like that who's interested in what they do and what you're doing, it says a lot about your leadership as well. And the fact that they practice on their own, like I said, that's a rarity to have that. So what was that like for you when you first came into the church, and now you're hit with, wow, this team really practices, versus where maybe you came from before?
Yeah, it definitely was different. It just made things kind of easier. We didn't have to take time to work through stuff as much. I mean, we still stop and talk about certain parts of songs, and sometimes the songs that we haven't done for a while, or new songs, it takes us quite a few times to run through them to get our parts and all get together on that song. But it definitely was a change, especially like when I first started part-time. I was leading a youth band, and that basically was almost starting from scratch on a song. We'd have to listen to it a few times before we'd actually play through it. But here it's like everybody's usually pretty familiar with the song and how it goes, and so it makes it a lot shorter of a practice time when we all get together on a Thursday night and actually try to run the songs. Sometimes we don't really talk about it much. We're just kind of like, okay, any questions before we start?
Yeah, can you please remove the CD that was embedded in my head from your throw? That would be
right.
Yeah. So how do you work with those musicians when the 1-2 that don't know their music, and besides throwing things at them, as you were at liberty to share with us, thank you. What do you say to those that don't come prepared? How do you work with that?
I can encourage them to listen and pay attention to their parts, and make sure that they are ready to go on Sunday. The guy that led before me, the guy that was the worship leader before me, he's still here. He was just part-time, and he's been part of the church for years now. But he and I always encourage people to, if learning their parts, they need to listen to that song until they're pretty much almost sick and tired of it, to actually know how the song goes, what different parts there are, and just make sure that they have their part down. And I think I attribute it to some of the team members as well, just in their just how they can kind of be playful with people if they if they don't know their parts, it's kind of the culture of the band. It's like, okay, well, you know, we know that they're going to get kind of messed with if if they screw up and don't know their part or whatever. But some of the younger team, it's great because some of the older team members are very encouraging. They encourage them to learn them, but also not be nervous too, because they can pick up on the nervousness of somebody younger who's just kind of joined the team.
Mm-hmm.
So they're really good at just trying to encourage them through that and saying, you know what, we got you. Don't worry about it. Like we're right behind you, no matter what. Like, you know, if you skip that, you know, bridge, or if you don't, we'll be right there with you.
Huh.
So it's just a good team. It's a good team culture that I have really appreciated for sure.
So let me ask you this question. Mo had a question here on Periscope, just shot up, and I want to respond to him. Thanks, Mo. And by the way, you guys participate, so let us know. You got questions just like Mo, type it in, Periscope, Facebook Live, let us know what's up. Also, if you're listening by playback, you can still type in the comment window. Don't be shy. Come on. Know your music, right? Okay, so Mo says he's got people on his team that are 20 years older than him, and they're behind in their music. So when you're dealing with team members that are a little bit older than you, it can be a little intimidating, number one, right? Because there's an age factor, and you don't want to tell anybody that they're doing things wrong, right? Maybe you do, but on the outside you don't. But you know, and they're behind their music. So how would you approach that situation? I mean, you have many different ages that you work with. How would you approach that situation, Daniel, when you know someone's not practicing, but they're also older than you? How do you deal with that?
And you know, I have had a couple musicians here at Community Bible that we were kind of in that situation with. They're no longer here, not because I got rid of them, but because they moved on to a different church and closer to home and stuff. But I've had a couple that I just have to try and encourage them. They definitely took a little bit more attention at practice to kind of talk them through where they needed to, you know, be at. Talk them through a little bit more of how they needed to be playing. Like, hey, we're building here, so not just whole notes. You need to start breaking into quarter notes, eighth notes on the bass or whatever, so that you can help build. So just a little bit of coaching on them connecting with the drummer, and yeah, I think that was kind of what I had to deal with, and it definitely helps if they are teachable. If they're not, that definitely makes it harder to actually being younger, harder to communicate with them. But that's kind of what I've had to deal with.
So what's the toughest spot for you?
The toughest spot for me.
Yeah, like when you are working with those that are older than you, or you're having to communicate instruction about how to do things within rehearsal. What is the toughest spot for you?
The toughest spot for me is not having to communicate with people that are behind in their music, but the ones that are way better than me in their music. because when I try to communicate with them, they look, you know, they can smile and be helpful and say, "Oh, you mean this," instead of what you're trying to communicate. Usually they're gracious with them.
So you're talking. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm talking what?
No, you go ahead.
I guess both. I could say both are more challenging. Like trying to communicate ways that they need to get better. Trying to encourage them, but with the players that haven't that are struggling, we even before I got here, they've definitely spent, you know, invested in ways that people can practice. They've linked our planning center to rehearsal mix, and so that's a big help for the musicians. And so we've definitely directed people to that if they're struggling, knowing how they're supposed to play, as well as just trying to find any other resources that show training on showing how the part is played by the band that we're playing or whoever. So just being able to provide those resources too has made a huge impact on some of the musicians here.
So you recommend technology like Rehearsal Mix? I love that, and then also Planning Center Online.
Absolutely.
Right, because I've other teams that even those that I worked with over the weekend, they're still just handing out CDs, which is still good, but it's helpful to have how. Let me ask you this: how did you introduce that with your team by giving them technology and things that they can gravitate to?
Yeah, well, they've been using that before I got here. I started that at my old church, and it was very beneficial. I did have a few older players that were amazing on their instruments, but didn't even email, So then I would have to burn them a CD and print off the music for them. But this team is definitely pretty tech savvy, to where they listen to the songs on their phones while they're driving. They pull up the PDFs to play the chords. Sometimes they find videos on their own of certain lead lines for electric guitar. So they definitely are, like, if I don't provide that, they're expecting it.
Yeah.
But Planning Center, Rehearsal Mix makes a world of difference, just because of how easy it makes it to hear your parts and learn how you need to, how to play those parts.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Daniel. Tell us, let's see, they can't get with technology and burning CDs is hard. My MacBook doesn't even have a drive, Mo says. Mo, he said that the program was called Rehearsal Mix.
Yeah.
And so thanks for that. And also, there's a quick question too from Matt Lockwood. Matt asked, how many new songs do you do, let's say within maybe a month or so?
Within a month, probably one. If I really, really want to have a song that I think is going to be great for a sermon or something, then I'll add it in. But usually it's typically about one, because I would rather that my people have a lot of songs that they know and that they really sing, rather than introducing songs too much.
Yeah.
And that really hits me sometimes when we've been doing, I think it was at my previous church, I've been doing Forever Rain by Hillsong for like
Forever.
a year, forever, a year or two. And then someone came up and said, oh man, I just love that song that you're doing, Forever Rain. Man, that's like my favorite song right now. That I think they even referred to it as that new song. And I was just like, okay.
That's fantastic.
So that just made me think, man, like, people aren't here every week. They're not always listening to the music that I'm listening to. They live in different worlds where they're, they might be listening to K-Love, but we're not doing all of those songs either. Where it takes a lot of repetition to actually learn a song. Just like when we encourage the band members to listen to the song over and over again. So if they know it, it's the same thing with people being able to feel comfortable and sing with it.
A lot of pastors are shaking their heads right now, because they're probably saying, if my church would only listen to those sermons, because it's the same thing. It's the same thing. We gripe about how they don't listen to the CD or practice or whatever. Pastors go through the same emotion.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. All right. So I'm going to get into the nitty gritty now. All right. You guys ready? Corey Cooper, thanks so much. He said, tips on rehearsals, please. She did. Sorry. Okay. So, because there's two things I want to jump into. So, Coral, let me get to your question in just a second on Facebook Live. I wanted to ask you this, Daniel. I was about to say, when we're dealing with personalities, tell us, how did you, let's see, what has been the worst for you? You work with many different people, and when it comes to rehearsing your peeps, they got different behaviors, different personalities, and all that kind of stuff. What has been the actual worst experience for you in the worship team? Be candid, please.
The worst is I do have a couple strong personalities on my team, a couple different vocalists that I've had to talk with a lot. A lot of communication is needed, and candidly, like they're the daughters of the guy that led before me, and who is now, and he's an active elder of our church too. Great guy.
That's
And
double.
they're what?
That's double. That's double right there.
These ladies are friends with my wife, and I'm friends with them too. But you know, we've had tough conversations because they used to have a lot more say in what happened, what songs we sang, how the service went, and so it's been difficult. And I can just feel the tension sometimes when they question kind of what I've decided to do or how we're doing things, you know. So that's been pretty difficult. That's something that, you know, thanks to Brandon, I've been able to kind of navigate through a little better.
Oh, that's sweet.
Have better responses to them. But at the same time, I try to work with them a lot too, just because sometimes they have great creative ideas, and so I don't try to be just a jerk who is not open to suggestions. So yeah, I'm trying to navigate that just for myself as well, you know, on having a positive filter when I hear suggestions and trying to communicate well with them.
Yeah. Well, that can be the toughest spot. I mean, especially when you're dealing with, oh man, I mean, all the embed intertwines of relationships and in the church. I mean, that kind of makes it, you know, a little murky. So how do you work through that?
Sometimes it's things that I just have to ignore. Comments that are made to my wife, you know, or things that I hear through other people, and it's kind of like, you know what, I just have to let that go and not hold it against anyone, not be frustrated by that. You know, comments like, oh, well, if Daniel's not going to do that, I'll just talk to my dad and we might get it done. And it's like, wow.
Just let that right out of the bag, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. They just came right out.
And so. I did ask him too if he felt comfortable before the show. I asked him, are you okay with divulging your stories, knowing that there is a potential that you can get fired after this? He said yes. So, yeah, but anyway, going back to rehearsal though, I mean that makes it challenging, because if you have somebody watching over your shoulder, so to speak, when you're rehearsing, that can make things tough. So, but brave you are to have that thick skin and soft heart, you know. And so Daniel has been exhibiting that, and that's something that you have to have in a rehearsal setting and working with people. Mo, it goes back to you with what you had asked. How about switch gears for a second and let's talk about some hands-on. Coral Cooper asked some questions. And in fact, she's like letting out the comments right now as we speak. So let's go through them. About rehearsals, tips on doing rehearsals. What makes a successful rehearsal for you, Daniel?
Be prepared. Having my backing tracks ready to go. I actually set up, a lot of times I set up this band room in here and have everything ready for everybody. So they come in, sit down, and we can get started. Yeah, we actually meet in a gym right back here. So if I'm not setting it up here, I'm setting it up out in the gym, like setting up the stage and plugging everything in. So just having everything ready, having some songs printed off for the vocalists to have, that makes a huge difference. Otherwise, it, you know, takes up the first 20 or 30 minutes. That's what they actually used to do. That before I was here, they would all meet at 6:30, and for the first half hour, they would set up and get ready for practice. Because they didn't have the guy before me wasn't full time; he was just part time. So it wasn't like he was here during the week that much. Besides that, it does help to play through the songs beforehand. I have to be prepared, or else I definitely feel it during rehearsal. Just to know what I'm looking for if a band member doesn't play a certain part, and it helps to be prepared so that I can kind of give some just talk about the song a little bit beforehand. There have been times where I show up and I'm like, man, what songs are we doing? This week's been crazy. I have them ready, but I haven't played through them. And so it's like, well, let's just play and see how it sounds. And usually it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Well, that all happens to us, and you have to take things with a grain of salt. I mean, none of us are perfect. I had one of my musicians pointed out to me that I missed some notes last week, and it was like, well, okay, hey, thanks for noticing. I'll make sure I correct that next time.
Yeah, it's nice.
We're not perfect. Coral had some thoughts that she wanted to share too. The worst things for her was, number one, constant lateness. This is our friend on Facebook. Coral, thanks, by the way, of submitting your comment. Constant lateness. Number two, unprepared spiritually. Number three, not prepared well enough. Thank you, musically. Number four, performance versus worshiping. That's a big one. Number five, song preference. I don't like that song. What's up with that? Last one, number six, the best singers dragging their feet, etc. They drag their feet, etc. After that. I mean, I'm with you, Coral. That she has that. So let me just ask you the big question I wanted to ask you today, Daniel. Out of everything that you talked about today, what is the one thing that makes rehearsals suck?
Oh, it makes them suck.
Yeah.
What was the list of things that she listed off there?
Not going back there.
Gone.
Expired already.
Oh, okay. It's not the practices on Thursdays, but the Sunday mornings. That's a struggle getting everybody actually there on time and starting at the time that I've actually said, hey, let's start at 8, and everybody's walking in at 8, chatting about the game from yesterday or whatever. So that's definitely one of my struggles as well. That sucks the most. I mean, there's the song preference in there. Right. Song preference definitely comes from those strong personalities a little bit. Yeah, I think those are kind of a couple of the main things that I struggle with.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. This is some really good stuff. One more. Coral again says tips on building the team, both worship leaders and the musicians. What do you do, Daniel, to help build your team?
Yeah, it's all about relationships. Anyway, and I definitely know that I need to meet with them more. Like I see how, at Bethel Church, they have like worship nights or a worship team night where they get together and chat like every month or whatever. And I don't do that, but I have dinners once in a while where I provide food and just thank everybody. I need to do it again. I haven't done it in a while.
Yeah.
Even just some of the guys on the team, I'll get together, eat lunch with them once in a while, try to meet with them. The girls, my wife's friends with them, so sometimes she'll invite them over, or we'll invite them over together. There's a single girl that's like 26 on our team. We've had her over for lunch. I think she's coming over to watch the last Harry Potter movie sometime, because she didn't watch the last one. She watched all the rest of them. Didn't watch the last one. My wife can't believe it.
Yeah.
Even during services, man, we try to encourage everybody to at least sit in on one service, but then the other service, we're hanging out in here, just chatting about life. And so just even those times, I love, it's hard for me to leave the room because people are just chatting about work and life and family and kids and stuff. So that's actually my favorite time on Sunday. Sometimes.
Well, that's the kind of relational time that we all want to have. And so even when you feel like giving up, don't, because that's just a passing feeling. And you want to remember that God has put you in the position to lead your team, just like Daniel. And no matter what, God is the one that's in charge, not man, and not even yourself. So Daniel, can you also like, I mean, you kind of moving on, you've been a student now through our mentoring program. What have you learned through this time, and what's been on your heart about that?
I've definitely grown. I've been encouraged a lot just in my leadership abilities. Definitely just stepping out and working towards, leading people more. Working with those strong personalities, like I said before, and how to have healthy responses when dealing with them, so that I don't email back sharp emails. But even going through music and learning more about music and being encouraged by you, Brandon, just on my musicality, learning my music better, learning music theory, so that I can be more flexible with the songs that we're playing, and I can kind of be the person who's got some of the answers when we have a music question or whatever. But just even personally for me, it was this was like the best time about when we started. What was it? Just a little bit over a year ago.
Yeah.
Just for me to have a connection with Brandon, to get advice, working through a tough situation here at my church with most of the pastors leaving, and me dealing with mainly the elders at that point. It was very difficult for me at certain situations, just my outlook, I guess. And so Brandon definitely helped me change my perspective, but also work through a lot of the junk that I was kind of going through, and you kind of come out a lot better and healthier in the end, and just get a lot of encouragement to be healthy through this. Even down to the most practical things of like making sure I'm exercising, making sure I'm getting enough sleep, making sure I'm still spending time with family, saying no to some of the things at the church, so that I can, be attentive to my first responsibility, which is my family and my boys. So I think just encouragement in life to be living a healthy life, but also a life that honors the Lord. That's all. I mean, I've been encouraged in all of that going through this course.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Daniel. Guys, it's fantastic to have you on, and thanks for sharing your heart and your ministry with us today, Daniel. Great to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. And we're going to have, and thanks for the kind words too. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
We meet later on this Thursday, actually, for our time together. And, we treat this very seriously in what we do here at Worship Team Training, provided if it's our university, if it's our mentoring program, our workshops like we just did in North Carolina, whatever it is, books, whatever. The whole point is to help get you outfitted with a new tool belt, if you will, to refuel your energy, your ministry. Because if it's putting set lists together, if it's working with people that seem to be difficult to work with, if it seems that maybe you feel like giving up kind of thing, whatever the case, God has equipped you to be that leader already that He's called you to be. It's not a how do I get there? Like I need to be this person now. It's more of you already are that leader that God's gifted. There's just a lot of things within you that probably just need to be tapped out, and to have somebody help guide you in that process. So this is what we do here at Worship Team Training, whether it's leadership, musical, if it's spiritual, this is what we do here. So I invite you to check out what we have to offer, namely our mentoring program that we just mentioned, worshipteamtraining.com/mentoring. And if you want to get deeper knowledge and deeper mentoring, you can also go to our brand new Worship Team Training University. And that is WTTU.co. With a beautiful person, please type that in on Periscope right now. WTTU.co, which Daniel is also a member of, and Sharice as well. And if you do that, you can, if you email me, I'll give you a special. Okay, how about that? So let's do that. But the whole idea is that we get help from one another, because we are in the long haul, and ministry is too short. Life is too short. Life is shorter. So you want to make the most of it. So guys, Love y'all so much. Continue to check into what we are doing here for you at Worship Team Training and Worship Team Training University. Treasure, great to see you. Mike, great to know you guys. I'm glad that you were here, Mike, today. Thanks, man. And Coral, thank you. And all of our folks today, Cherise joining in, also commenting. Matt, thanks so much. You guys are fantastic. Hey, coming up this Thursday, we have Tommy Walker. Tommy Walker is going to be on the program this Thursday, but in order to watch it, you got to sign up at WTTU.co. And if you act now, you can still get a good rate. It's only going to cost you, I think, like $5 a month. I mean, anybody can afford that. That's a cup. That's a latte a month. Cherise, thanks for that. You can watch Tommy Walker. Also, next week, we got John Chisholm, Worship Songwriting Webinar Part 2, or Part 2. But that's going to be a lot of fun. You can't miss it. And we also have Rich Kirkpatrick coming up. We have a lot of great people, Rick Muchow, Zora the drummer. We have a lot of great guests coming that are already lined up. Chris Denning from Planning Center Online. A lot of great people. You can't miss it. So anyway, be sure to go to WTTU.co. Sign up today, and I can give you a special rate if you email me. That's Brandon@worshipteamtraining.com. Please do that. And we're going to have some more things coming up. So, guys, thanks so much for joining us. Again, Matt is going to be with us next week also. Daniel, thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
All right. And love you guys so much. Have a fantastic day. We'll see you back this coming Thursday if you join us at WTTU.co. See you guys very soon. Love you, and may God's blessings flow to you and your worship team. Take care. Bye-bye.